Welcome to the Daybreak with Jeff Slakey podcast. I'm so happy you found us. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share this with your circle of influence. It's a collection of the interviews, news, and conversation during Daybreak with Jeff Slakey on I-501 News Radio, KMAS, weekdays from 6 to 9. A good Wednesday morning to you. Hope you're having a great start to the day. Spencer, good morning.
Hey, good morning. What's going on today?
Well, we're going to check in on the latest COVID numbers for Mason County today. Also have some charitable donations data, which is down, as you can imagine. Regional news for you and a report from Eric Tegedoff.
And I'll check the weather today. Hint, hint, it's going to be a beautiful day. We'll have Ted Jackson on from United Way of Mason County. Also, Kristin Masteller from PUD 1 talking about bill support that's available. Mason County Public Health was notified June 16th of one additional Mason County resident that tested positive for COVID-19. This brings the total to 41 positive cases of COVID-19 in Mason County. Mason County Public Health is continuing contact interviews. The patient, a male in their 70s, is currently isolating at home. This is a direct contact of a previous positive case. We are currently monitoring it.
A recession is expected to curtail Americans' generosity following a record year of charitable donations, but the recent wave of money dedicated to fighting the coronavirus and racial inequality in the U.S. is offering a beacon of hope for nonprofits in 2020. The Giving USA report released Tuesday estimates that nearly $450 billion was donated to charities in 2019. The 2.4% uptick from the previous year marked a record year for giving that reflected a booming economy. Individuals continue to make up the majority of dollars donated, nearly 70% in 2019, the rest given by foundations, corporations, and others.
Seattle Police Chief Carmen Bess says officers will go into an area being occupied by protesters if there are threats to public safety. Police previously pulled back from a part of the city's Capitol Hill neighborhood near the department's East Precinct in the wake of recent clashes with people protesting police brutality after the police killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis. Now called the Capitol Hill Occupied Protest, participants have painted a Black Lives Matter mural on the street and planted a community garden. The situation has drawn the ire of President Donald Trump, who claimed without merit that violent people had taken over. And Tacoma man Manuel Ellis has become a part of a somber list of black men who have died in police custody. Eric Tegedoff has more.
In the wake of George Floyd's death, Tacoma man Manuel Ellis has become part of a somber list of black men who have died in police custody. Governor Jay Inslee has announced the state is taking over the investigation into Ellis's March 3rd death. Civil rights attorney James Bible is representing Ellis's family and says security camera footage shows officers ignoring the 33-year-old man's pleas.
We learned later that there was ring video from across the street that got significant recording, and his words weren't just, "I can't breathe," they were, "I can't breathe, sir."
Bible says the video appears to show one of the officers then telling Ellis to shut up. The 4 officers involved in the death were placed on a second round of administrative leave last week after a Pierce County medical examiner ruled the death a homicide. But obstacles remain to holding them accountable, including a legal doctrine known as qualified immunity. It protects government employees from lawsuits alleging misconduct unless a clearly established right has been violated. Bible says it's been used to shield police officers.
Qualified immunity sometimes operates as an obstacle to actual justice, sometimes operates as an obstacle to the people in our community being able to decide what was right and what was wrong.
Lawmakers in Congress have introduced a bill that would end qualified immunity. Defenders of the doctrine say it protects officers making snap judgments in dangerous situations. But Bible says qualified immunity does more than shield officers. He believes it can be a hindrance to juries.
It's critical that we let the people decide, that we let this go to juries, for juries to make decisions in relation to these cases.
The Washington state legislature will likely consider this issue at a special session later in the summer. For Washington News Service, I'm Eric Tegedoff.
And thank you, Eric. The head of the U.S. communications regulator says T-Mobile's nationwide hours-long outage on Monday was unacceptable and that the FCC will investigate. They have fined telecom companies in the past for network outages. T-Mobile is one of the country's 3 largest wireless service providers, said it had voice and text issues that began around noon on Monday Eastern time. The company said by 1 a.m. The next day, all the problems have been resolved. The company blamed an internet traffic issue that caused problems with its network for the outage. AT&T and Verizon said their networks were working normally. Again today on the show, Ted Jackson from United Way of Mason County, Kristin Masteller from PUD1. Also more great local news and conversation. Continue in on that senior shout-out hotline. We got a couple more in yesterday, and we're looking for yours for a senior. We're going to have this for the end of the month. Call in and give a shout out and a congratulations to someone you know who is graduating high school or college or anything at 360-426-1030. Press 0. Again, remember that number because as we move into July, we've got a real fun contest that we're going to be bringing out that's going to help get a lot of folks gift cards to a great restaurant in downtown Shelton. More of the Daybreak Show is coming up.
From the iFiber One News Radio studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Jeff Slakey and Spencer Hughes here on the Daybreak Show. And I'm happy to have from PUD1, Kristin Masteller on the line with me. Good morning.
Good morning, Jeff.
Thanks for being here and updating us on things happening in PUD1. We talked with the folks at PUD3 last week. And while I know you're both in Mason County and you both work closely together, there are some unique qualities to both public utility districts. And first, let's just get an overview about how PUD1 has been handling the last few months and what it's looked like for changes for the crew that are, still needed to be out there in front of people at times.
Yeah, we closed our offices to the public early on in this thing because there's not very many of us here. There's only 25 of us. We don't have a large bench to pull from if somebody does get sick. So our primary focus was to make sure that the essential water and power services remained operable for the public. And the only way to really guarantee that is to keep our employees safe. And so right off the bat, we closed to the public. We staggered shifts where we had a group A and a group B, and they rotated in working, and then one group would stay home and work from home, and then they would swap the next week. So that way, if one shift had a positive case, they wouldn't wipe out the entire workforce.
Right.
And so we brought almost everybody back this month to the building. I have some folks that are out that are in the high risk category that are still working from home, but mostly all of our crew members are back and our customer service and finance folks are back. We're just working split shifts with an early shift and a late shift.
How has PUD1 and the employees and even from the commissioners down adopted and accepted kind of this telework model? For many of the folks I've interviewed over these last couple months, I think all of us have, 2.5 months ago or 3 months ago, if we would have said, okay, well, guess what? Everybody in your office is going to have to telework. Most people would say, listen, there's no way.
Right.
We can't even do a lot of the stuff in person when it comes to things. How are we going to telework? How has it worked for PUD?
It's worked better than I thought it would. It took us a couple different tries of figuring things out to find a routine that works well for us. We tried things, they didn't work, we tweaked them, we tried something different, and now we've got it where people are pretty self-sufficient as far as being able to remote in. A lot of it boils down to technology, and many of us in Mason County, me included, live in rural areas where we don't have access to high-speed internet. Like I have satellite internet, so I can't work from home very well. So we've just kind of adapted it. We've done this kind of hybrid model of folks that can work full-time from home and people that can come into the office to grab work to take home and do it the old-fashioned way on paper. And so, yeah, we really, 6 months ago, if you had told me that I would have had operations people working from home, I would have thought you were crazy. But, we do what we have to do. We do whatever we have to do to keep it working. And I will say, our commissioners are all calling in on Zoom meetings now, and we have all that information on our website. And if anything, it's increased access, to the public meetings because folks can do it from the comfort of their own homes now. If they have a telephone, they can call in and listen to the board meeting. So some things I think have actually worked out for the better, surprisingly.
One of the things that you have, we've talked about in leading up to this interview are some ways that people not only in PUD 1 but PUD 3 too can find some assistance when it comes to their energy and their water bills. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Governor Inslee had several proclamations that he extended, and one of them included a moratorium on utility disconnects. And so there's a couple really important things that I think we need to continue to put out there to our ratepayers is those bills can't be forgiven. We're public agencies, so we can't write those off because that would be considered a gift of public funds, which is illegal. So the water and the power bills are still due when the moratorium's lifted, which is set for the end of August. And what we're trying to avoid is have customers who are thousands of dollars in arrears on their account and can't bring their accounts current, because if they're not making payment arrangements, September 1st, that utility bill's due. And we don't want anybody to be disconnected. We don't want to have an interruption in utility services. And we've said that right from the start. Before the governor took any action, we implemented a suspension of our electric rate increase for the year. We implemented a suspension of late fees, disconnections, the whole 9 yards, and started reaching out. We personally hand dial every one of our customers who are on the late account list and say, what's going on with you this month? How are things going? Do you need some time? Do you want to set up a payment plan? So what we're encouraging, and I can't speak for PUD 3, but I know they do this too, they're very effective at it, is they set up long-term payment plans for people. So my message really is, don't ignore us. We're here to help you. If you're getting phone calls or letters about strategizing how to get your accounts current, take advantage of that. That's what our customer service folks are there for. And secondly, the Community Action Council of Mason County and then OLECAP in Jefferson County, because we have about 1,500 customers in Jefferson County. These organizations got, there's over $7 million that got filtered through Department of Commerce that's supposed to go out to the county level and assist with rent and utility bills. So we are just pounding the pavement on this, trying to get our customers to make an appointment down at the CAC and see if they qualify. And even if they didn't qualify in the past, now with the COVID unemployment, they're kind of loosening their threshold for who qualifies for this assistance. So they might qualify now, even if they didn't qualify before. So we're really encouraging everybody, just make the phone call. They're taking appointments. June is when the water assistance comes through also. And so we really want that money to come into Mason County to help PUD 1 and PUD 3 ratepayers, but also it helps support the continued operation of the public utility district. We still have to pay our power bill to bond bill. So it's important that our customers know where to go to get some assistance.
I've talked with different credit unions around our area over this course of this, and they kind of are saying the same things. You may dread calling something like this, for fear. Even if you're paid up, you just never know, and you feel like, oh, well, now something might happen. But it's really important to let people know that you are struggling, especially now, as opposed to a month or two down the road as we get closer to August, and then you haven't heard anything from someone, so perhaps just assuming everything's normal. But for those folks, it's been a tough thing. They've had to then, I guess it's hard for them to then make the payments or you don't want to get kicked off of these things.
Sure. Well, and I took a look down the list last week, and we have some customers that, in the last 90 days are up to $2,000 behind on their bills. And, that's hard to come back from, especially if you are, experiencing job insecurity or borderline homelessness. It's difficult to come back from that. And what we're trying to communicate to our customers is nobody's had to go through something like this before. We're all adjusting, and there's absolutely no shame in saying, I need help right now. We work for these people. We work for these customers. It's our job to try to find a way to come up with a solution to help keep their essential utility services connected, and then help them bring everything current so they're not struggling with it.
Yeah, one thing I have noticed with the public utility districts for certain, and credit unions for certain, kind of the member mantra of these things, they definitely feel and care for their members, and I know you do for your ratepayers, and
Absolutely.
We're all trying to get through this together. I'll put the links to the Community Action Council's phone numbers and websites on this. Also for OLICAP for the folks in Jefferson County. And, when you guys continue to have news or get ready to reopen, let's get you back on and we'll talk about some more of this stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, we hope to reopen this month. We're waiting for some renovations to occur in our lobby area with some plexiglass to help protect our customer service reps. We will be requiring masks if you want to do your business in person at the front counter. But we've been running over the phone and online for the last 3 months, and we haven't skipped a beat. People are still getting a good level of service. So if somebody feels strongly that they don't want to wear a mask, they can continue to call us or do their business online. But the folks that want to come back in, we'll have masks available for people that don't have their own. And we're looking forward to seeing our ratepayers again.
Very cool. Kristin, good to see you. Good to talk with you this morning. And we'll continue to check in with all the great work PUD1 does for folks in Mason and Jefferson counties.
Great. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
You're listening to Daybreak on I-Fiber-One News Radio.
Well, good morning, everybody. Jeff Slakey and Spencer Hughes here on the Daybreak Show. Yesterday, we got word that United Way all across the great Northwest and Washington and all about was having a press event to talk about an ALICE report. Now, ALICE stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. And it's basically a overview of a lot of the folks who are struggling in our communities right now. They have limited assets. Their income has them at a kind of maybe topped out at where they're working, but they are working, and those can cause some constraints as folks are looking for help. On the phone line right now from United Way of Mason County, Ted Jackson. Good to talk with you this morning, Ted. How you doing?
Doing great, Jeff. Thank you. Good morning.
Did I do that right? Is that about what we heard from on that press release yesterday, and then and the subsequent information that came out?
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't have done it better. That was perfect.
Tell me a little bit more on ALICE and how United Way is involved with this. I've talked with the credit unions, and they identify members being under this category, but how does United Way play in?
Well, United Way has always been trying to help our neighbors get on their feet or prevent them from going below a certain level economically. And so especially the United Way of the Pacific Northwest has really been working hard to assist families, identify families, and prevent them from slipping below the federal poverty line. And whether we're working with child care groups, credit unions to assist with financial needs when it comes to understanding finances, and educational groups to help our folks that have not finished high school get their high school degree so they can get better paying jobs, and assist other groups with child care.
Looking at the website, unitedforalice.org. It's all across the country, but then if you go /Washington, it kind of does our state overview and talks about some of the issues. And a lot of these, as we can imagine, the numbers came out pre-COVID, or at least had some background before COVID. How are you anticipating all of what's been going on the last couple of months to impact these identified groups?
Well, the numbers, these numbers that were being released were data collected in 2018. Mm-hmm. So in 2018, 41% of our families in Mason County were below the ALICE threshold. So that relates to about 23,500 families that are below the ALICE threshold in Mason County. Now, with the anticipation of COVID, especially over the last 3.5 months, I can see when the numbers are generated again, we're going to have a larger number in Mason County below the threshold. And just looking from what we're hearing and what we're seeing from the United Way, there's a lot of people in need, and they're asking the right questions, those folks that are coming in to ask us how to get assistance, doing different things. But the jobs haven't been there. They're struggling with daycare. The food supply, when we first started with the quarantine was very low in Mason County. Now that's been improved. So people have been really struggling. Rental assistance has been a huge burden on our community. But I could see here when the new data comes out in another year, 2 years, it's going to be, we're going to be hit hard. So it's going to be tough for families to pull out of this.
And again, these are snapshots in time, as we're often reminded, and what happens and what it looks like today could be totally different from even a couple days from now. But it is important, especially with how unique the situations is. When we do get those numbers, a lot of folks above my pay grade are really going to be able to crunch those and maybe put a good, better picture on this. When it comes to the folks in the Alice category, it's a real kind of no man's land, if you will. They don't have enough income to be able to be saving on a biweekly basis with their paychecks necessarily, but then they don't make enough to qualify for services. Have you had a chance to talk with anybody either in the legislature, in state government, or even federal government on how we can help these folks a little better, not fall through those cracks?
Well, the United Way of Pacific Northwest has been talking to our state representatives, and next week we'll be meeting with staff from our federal lawmakers to try to get some or try to give our advice on what we can do. People need to understand that transportation costs, childcare, food, everything is on the rise, and wages just haven't increased. Now with this COVID, wages for a lot of people have stopped. So we are reaching out to try to figure out what we can do to help assist our folks to get back on their feet and get above that threshold. So it's an ongoing discussion with our state and federal lawmakers to try to see what we can do.
What are some additional resources that United Way in Washington, United Way in Mason County can offer to folks in Mason County right now?
Right now we have not so much individual assistance. We started the Mason County United Way with the partnership of the Community Foundation, started a COVID relief fund back in March, and we've been identifying nonprofits that are providing direct assistance to Mason County residents, whether it's regard to utility assistance, rental assistance, food assistance. And so we've asked people that have come into United Way to contact these folks, nonprofits, and they've been able to assist them. And throughout each United Way has their own little niches that they do. Some are very big into education. Been working with our schools to see how we can help our schools, especially our districts. I'm concerned about the summer feeding meal program to make sure our kids that are no longer in school are being fed. And we've been contacting most of the school superintendents to see how we can help them do that, either through volunteers or financial. So we've been reaching out, and folks have been reaching out to us. Our community has been amazing in supporting United Way, some of our nonprofits that are really providing some great resources.
United Way of Mason County is on Railroad, 536 West Railroad. They're also online. I'll put the links to this in the show notes here. What's going on with office hours? Is it still call ahead, or you're open for some folks?
We have been open. We have not shut down. We have closed Tuesdays and Thursdays and work from home. It's not because of COVID. It's because of the beautiful parking lot that's going next door.
Sure.
And the noise there has been a little bit deafening. But so we're still open, and we're open 9 to 4, Monday through Friday, and we're ready to help.
Ted Jackson is running United Way of Mason County and helping a lot of folks while he's doing it. If you need more help, you can get in touch with him. Ted, good to talk with you, and I'm glad to see that the folks under the kind of the Alice moniker are continued to be looked at and identified as a very important aspect of the overall really health of all of our community. When everything's going good for those folks, it helps everybody out there.
Absolutely, Jeff. And one thing is that, you have to identify the problem to help solve the problem. And I think this report will make sure it gets out to as many people who would like to see it, and they can see where we're at in Mason County.
I'll put the links to the report as well. Ted, good to catch up with you, and we'll talk soon a little bit down the road.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thank you so much for listening to today's Daybreak with Jeff Slakey podcast. Again, I'm so happy and honored you found us and chose to listen. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share this with your circle of influence. It's a collection of some of the interviews, news, and conversation during Daybreak with Jeff Slakey on I-501 News Radio KMAS, weekdays from 6 to 9. Thank you so much again, and talk with you next time.